Hello. Welcome to the live. See if it actually notifies people this time. I think it was having trouble with that over the last couple days. So we'll see. Hi. Welcome, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hello, hello. And happy lunar eclipse, which is this Saturday, which I honestly love the energy of. I'm so stoked on the energy of it. Hello. Hi, Marissa. I love lunar eclipses. I think they're incredible. I know they don't always pertain to wonderful events, but I always love the energy of truly just like the closing chapter that comes with lunar eclipses. It makes me so happy. So I am stoked on this energy coming in, and I'm happy to close out eclipse season basically over this next week. It is about time. So pretty fun. Hi, good evening. You are in early. Hello. So nice to see everybody. I really have been loving going live every Thursday. It's been really fun to get to check in and hang out. It makes me so happy. So I'm so stoked to be here. And drinking apple cider as per lovely fall time. It made me super stoked. It's really, really hot though, but I really want to drink it. So I'm doing the barely hold it thing. Hi. Oh, welcome everyone. How are you all doing with this energy of this lunar eclipse week? How's it going for you? Are you feeling a little bit better than you were the last couple weeks? Do you feel more drained? How is it showing up for you? Do I feel this eclipse will sort out what the solar eclipse stirred up? No, I don't. I've been trying to see exactly how it all plays out from what the solar eclipse started, but the solar eclipse kicked off something that's going to be much larger because the solar eclipse is the start of something. When the lunar eclipse closes, it's not because it's closing what the solar eclipse started. It's closing kind of the previous, I know, not the answer anybody wanted, I promise. I've been channeling on it for days. But it closes kind of like the previous version of you, the you that you were since basically over the last 6 to 8 months, the things you went through over the last 6 to 8 months, even beyond that, maybe even the last 2-ish years or so, depending upon the way your life has kind of been flowing. It can kind of have applications both ways. So that's what the lunar eclipse is wrapping up. What the solar eclipse started and kicked off, though the immediate effects of it might start closing up here very soon, the longer effects of it's going to have impact for the next 2.5 years or so. So yeah, but we're going to feel the impact of this particular lunar eclipse for about a week. So this closing energy that the lunar eclipse is bringing in is going to be with us for about the next week. And then we're out of eclipse season. And I know we're all ready for, or I sure as heck am ready for that. I don't know if you guys are, I don't want to speak for you, but whew, it is time to be out of it, in my opinion. That being said, like I said, I really like the energy of lunar eclipses. I like the energy of things closing and ending, though. It makes me feel super nice. If you're not someone who's really good with endings, I totally empathize and understand. But for me, I'm like, yay, thank goodness. Yeah. The veil has been so thin. It's been very dark and spooky this cycle. Yeah. The veil is basically non-existent at this point. There's very, very, very little separating us from the spiritual realm. Mostly it's our perception that's separating us from the spiritual realm as opposed to any sort of layer of veil style thickness. It's very, very thin. So lots of spiritual activity ramping up, lots of communication with beings that are not necessarily human or not necessarily around. We have a lot of that ramping up right now. So if you're feeling that, if you're getting communication from your guides, if you're getting a lot of ghosty things happening, if, you name it, you're talking to the fairies or something comes up that way, or you really pick up on something for the first time or really activated dreams, all of that is happening right now. Yeah. Someone just, hold on, what was that? May I ask your thoughts on the LGBTQ community? Yeah, I'm a member of it. So I am a majorly pro LGBTQ. I've been openly bi since I was 8 years old. So yeah, very, very pro that. Great question. Yeah, I've been feeling my psychic abilities no more. Yeah, it's definitely a pickup of your psychic abilities. It's honestly a really lovely time right now to put intentional effort into cultivating what made you feel magical in the first place. So either if it was learning something new about magic and that feels really good, I would, over the next month or 2 months, put some energy into that. Or learning a new ability or something, I would put some energy into that. Or maybe even just going back to kind of your roots. If like you loved watching ghost shows and that's what made you tuned into your psychic abilities the first time, or the desire to tune into your psychic, to do some of that, like really go back to kind of some of the magical roots that you have going on, because that is something that's really going to serve a lot of people in the next little while, like genuinely. And it's probably something that you're already being drawn to, but it's really going to reawaken your abilities on a whole new level by going back to what feels really nice. Yeah, good questions. Oh. Yeah, for Saturday, just observing the lunar eclipse, and obviously we're not going to really be able to see it unless you're in like Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa, that kind of zone, and awake in the middle of the night. You're probably not going to see it. Plus, it is only a partial eclipse, so it's not a full lunar eclipse where the like moon turns fully red. It's just a partial, so it's just going to be a little half circle in the moon for about 15 minutes. So we're not really going to be able to witness it as far as seeing it, but we can witness the energy by simply just going outside and being just a little bit of time during Saturday. It doesn't have to be a super long time. It doesn't even have to be when the eclipse is direct. It's mostly the act of going out and being like, okay, universe, like I will witness what it is to be human. Because truly eclipses are a really human thing. Oh, thank you. Eclipses are a really beautiful human thing that we get to experience. And so that is very, very helpful for digesting this energy. Don't make moon water or crystals unless you want to capture this really chaotic energy of closing, which I don't really recommend doing. It's not something you necessarily want to use. It's more of like trusting the universe and being like, yo, universe, like I trust you to move my pieces. Let's do some piece moving together. And closing stuff out for me, that sort of thing. If you did want to do anything, journal, digest some stuff. I am doing a group reading tomorrow night. So if you want to do a reading with me and you don't want to wait till like May, tomorrow night I'm actually having a group reading. It's done kind of gallery style, but it's a really small group. Less than 20 people. And we spend basically a couple hours hanging out together. And I answer your questions, and we do group activations and block pulls and all that sort of stuff. So we're doing it the day before the eclipse so we can play with all the energy so you can be really ready and open for the lunar eclipse to close things up. So if you want to join that, I would love that. You should come hang out with me tomorrow night. I'm doing that group read, and it's digital. So I'm so glad that I'm on your feed now. I've missed you too. This app is so weird when it comes to showing me to people, so I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. Count you in. Yes. What time? It is at 5 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow night. All the information about it and pricing and all of that is on the link in my bio, so you can go check all of that out. Link in my bio. Come to my group reading. Let's do this. Sorry, I didn't realize I didn't say what time. I always do that. I always forget to say what time, or I'll forget what time zone. But yeah, check out the information. It's all in the link in my bio. I would love to have you guys join. Yeah. Yay, I'm so glad. Oh, thank you for sharing this with the storyteller. Sarah's in here. She's one of our forgotten storytellers. So that's our writing program. Like if you want to write a fiction book and you want to do it in alignment with your guides and channeling your characters and talk about your astrology, that's the writing program we do. It's a program that Crystalline and I mentor. It's called the Forgotten Storytellers. And we have pitches open right now. So it's kind of filling up, but there's a couple spots still open. So if you do have an idea for a book, that's also in the link of my bio. But thank you for sharing this with the storytellers. I appreciate that and give them all of my love. Yeah. What's my big three? I am a Gemini sun, a Scorpio moon, and a Libra rising. So now you know why I really like endings on the Scorpio moon. I'm like, yeah, bring on the lunar eclipse stuff. I love this type of energy. What could dreams about black bears, black hippos, etc. mean? Very vivid dreams. Oh, well, we kind of dream... How can I describe this? We dream on two different levels. So we dream on a soul level sometimes, and those are your big dreams, the dreams that feel very existential. Maybe you traveled somewhere else that almost feel like astral projection or lucid dreaming, or you feel like your guides are talking to you, that kind of thing. That's kind of like your soul level dreams where you're doing a lot of energy work. Then there's also body level dreams. Body level dreams are where our bodies are expressing energy that needs to be expressed. Maybe that we've been holding on to, or that we, haven't been really able to tap into, or maybe that's something that happened that day that we didn't get to fully navigate. So those are when we get our dreams of like, oh no, you're late for work, or one that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're just kind of jerking around from place to place in like dreams that kind of feel normal, kind of don't. Those tend to be kind of body dreams. So in my experience, when there's archetypal stuff that happens in body-like dreams, where there are energy expressed, something like that could be some sort of sign of that you're like not dealing with something, to be totally honest. It feels like a little like energy like pushing in, like, what are you not dealing with? A big black creature coming into your dreams being like, poke, poke, you got to look at this thing over here that you need to deal with in earth life stuff. But I'm not tuning into your energy and like giving you a full reading. That's not what I do in the lives, but that could be something that it means. Do I mentor people to develop their abilities? Yes, I do. So I do have a Patreon tier that does some mentorship. So that's a great place to go. I also have a couple different courses that is a great place to go as well. Also, if you make sure that you're on my email list, so you can sign up again through the link in my bio or my website, which is emilydexterpsychic.com. And on there, I will probably be having some more mentorship style opportunities in the future. Plus, I am hosting an in-person conference. It's called Sacred Spaces, a gathering for responsible spiritual exploration at the end of January. And tickets go on sale for that on Halloween. So that's another way you can work with me as well. Great question. You're so welcome. Do ladybugs have lore/symbolic meaning spiritually? So, in my opinion, any sort of symbols, hey Kate, any sort of symbols that we connect with, whether those are ladybugs or the number 11 or rainbows or a specific sound or a specific smell, you name it, whatever sort of symbols that way, they mean more personally than they do as opposed to having like a rule. I personally don't like to subscribe to the idea that if you're seeing this thing, it means this thing, because that is usually intuited by maybe one person. And I really think that it is more important for you to intuitive that meaning for yourself. Like, what do ladybugs mean for you? So when you see them repeatedly, if they're like a synchronicity where you're having a bunch of ladybugs happen, take a second and like pause and be like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Run through all your senses. What are you seeing? Sensing, hearing, feeling, knowing, tasting, just smelling, you name it. And be like, okay, what does this feel like to me? What does this energy feel like to me of this ladybug? And then you can associate with that. Maybe it's your guides talking to you. Maybe it's you needing to pay attention to something. Maybe it's when you're really anxious and your guides are trying to get you to calm down. Maybe that's when it comes up to you. Maybe it's when your intuition's really high. I mean, it's really individual. Same thing with kind of numbers as far as synchronicities or repeating numbers go. Though they are really powerful symbols and they usually are used to grab our attention, as far as specific numerological meanings for those numbers and how they apply, I don't think usually, at least in my experience and in my channeling and of doing this for a really long time, that guides are like, I'm sending these specific numbers because you're going to be able to figure out the exact meaning that these numbers are. Instead, it's more like, hey, look at these numbers. I know they're going to grab your attention. I'm validating you with these numbers. So don't focus so much on the specific meanings that people have defined online, etc. I would focus more on what they mean to you, which is a really long-winded answer, but that's basically where we're at. Yeah. How do people know they are psychic? Great question. Guess what? You're psychic. Everybody is psychic. Everybody can do this. And I know this in the core of my bones, and I've helped tons and tons of people get there. It's truly something that we all have the ability to do. Basically, the way that I like to describe it is we all have this magical river flowing within us when we come on planet, when we're born. And sometimes this magical river is big and wide and open and flowing a ton when we come on planet. And sometimes it's flowing just a little bit, and that's okay. All those states of flow are still states of flow. One thing we all do together is we all spend the time we came on planet till whenever we decide to work on healing work, polluting our river as much as possible and damming it up as much as possible. So if you have like a traumatic experience, you throw a bunch of beavers into the river, or, all of a sudden you absorb this limiting belief from someone and go some plastic bags, or all the ancestral beliefs that are coming to the surface, go in and tangle some roots up, whatever, jamming up that magical river. We all, however, have the ability to pull and release those things, to get those things out of the river and get that magic flowing again, and therefore tap into our psychic abilities. Everyone does it unique and differently. Everyone does it profoundly and beautifully. So how do you know you're psychic? I'm telling you right now, you're psychic, I promise. And I swear that you will be able to tune into it if you practice and work at it. There was a time when I had shut off my own abilities and I had to figure out how to open them back up. That's why I talk about it so adamantly now, because it is something that I'm so passionate about. Everyone can do this, I promise. Everyone just does it a little bit differently. And a lot of this is unworking some limiting beliefs around that. Hello, Meg. Hi, Sarah. I don't, are those spirit apps legit? I've seen a video where you posted about it. I'm not sure what you mean, spirit apps. Will you clarify? Because I'd love to answer. I just don't know what you mean. Hello. It's so nice to see you all. My mug says it's just a phase with the moon phases on it. And then it has like stars and constellations and moons on the inside. It's one of my faves. It's one of my faves. Thank you. Great question. Are you able to change your clairs? So the way that the clair senses work, so there's 8 clair senses. And those 8 clair senses basically are your ways of perceiving energetic information, just for anyone who maybe doesn't know that. This is not necessarily your psychic gifts. It's the way you perceive the energy, and then you can use that way of perception to apply to any psychic gift. So you can talk to ghosts by hearing them or by seeing them or just knowing they're there or whatever. Get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different energy there. You can basically, when we all have some that we are naturally more inclined to. We all have some that we're naturally more inclined to. So sometimes we are naturally more inclined to like claircognizance. You just know stuff. That doesn't mean you can't open up the other senses. It just means those are the ones that are most natural for you to start out with. So if you're starting out with being able to see information, fantastic, but you'd really like to hear, you can start working on clearing blocks around that, or working on hearing, or telling your guides, hey, I would like to hear more stuff. Those sorts of things. So you absolutely can change and move and flow with the energy of your clairs and alter those up. Doesn't mean that you're like changing them. It just means you're opening up more and more and more. And time honestly opens up more too. Like the more I do this, even now, the more I start getting things like smells. I have almost no sense of smell in like real physical life. In energetic sense though, I will get waves of smell on occasion. And I'll be like, oh, this is a spirit smell. Like, what's going on with this? And that's not a sense I've had for a very long time. I've only had that for maybe about 3 years or so. So it definitely can grow. Yeah. Well, a bunch of questions are just like, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Sarah, the candle made it to me. I love it. Thank you so much. It's pine cones and it makes me so happy. It's literally sitting right over here. But yes, I appreciate it so much. Is there anything I can do to be more in contact with my guides? Absolutely. Start talking to them. And I know that sounds so silly because everyone's like, okay, like, what do you mean? You literally just start talking to them about nothing. Like, I will go to my guides and be like, what should I wear today? Just because they say something doesn't mean I have to wear it, by the way. I'll be like, no, I don't want to wear that. But it's just opening this channel of communication without the pressure of it needing to be a life or death answer sitting on top of it. So, like, if you ask them, what should I wear today? What should I watch on TV tonight? What should I have for lunch? Like, just random little things. You're going to notice more and more those pings coming in. Maybe you see the pings, or you hear the pings, or you feel something in your body, whatever. And that's how you can start to really grow and develop that relationship with your guides to start to understand them more deeply. Also, don't be afraid to use tools. Tools are not like training wheels. And I think that people get stuck on that idea sometimes of like, oh, well, you know, I want to do tarot, but I need to be able to just tune it. Like, no, use tarot. If that really vibes with your energy, that's not a training wheel. That's something that helps you get deeper communication. Fantastic. Use that. Lean in on that. By all means, go for it. And you can do that with your guides too. Use a divination system that feels really good, or maybe use crystals, channeled writing, anything that feels aligned and good for you. Great question. Yeah, you use regular cards all the time. I'm a card dragon. I have so many decks of cards. I just looked over because like all my decks are over there. I have so many decks of cards. I love them. They make me so happy. Can we pick our guides? Like tell them if you feel like this, you can go. So here's the deal with spirit guides. Our spirit guides, we chose them already. They chose us. We entered into an agreement before we came on planet. So that is kind of like our understanding. Now, if they're upsetting us or whatever, I mean, of course you can be like, I don't want to talk to you for a while. You're not really picking and choosing your guides there though. You're truly just like talking to them, establishing your boundaries for right now, that kind of thing. You already picked and chose the guides that you need for your experience. When you're talking about an actual concrete, like a spirit guide, it is kind of like a soul connection, soul contract, soul bond, whatever, that are helping you. Now, if you wanted to do like deity work, where you wanted to work with like a specific deity or entity or character or whatever that exists out there, you can choose that for sure. And you can start working with them when you want, and you can end working with them when you want. It's kind of a mutual thing. But your guides are your guides for the amount of time you and your higher self and them agreed to guide you. So they're not going to get annoyed or pissed off at you. They're not going to try to do things for their benefit and not yours. It is literally a team that is established to get you to the things you need to get to in this lifetime. Which doesn't always mean they're there to make everything feel easy and lovely and cushy and fun either. They're there to help you navigate this lifetime, getting through the things that you kind of selected beforehand. So yeah, that's kind of the basis. So not really. Yeah. Can your guides communicate with someone else's guides? Yeah. Yeah. Your guides can communicate with someone else's guides. Absolutely. It happens quite a lot, actually. Yeah. How do I feel about working with infernals? I think that they are just like every other being. There are some that are awesome, and there are some that are less than awesome, and there are some that are incredibly neutral. And if you feel drawn to that, there's a reason you're feeling drawn to that. Make sure you're doing your own spiritual protection in order to dive into that, just like you would with any other external being. So we have a really interesting habit as a humanity of putting things into boxes. These are good things to work with. These are negative things to work with, based mostly on historic perception and myth in that sort of zone. But I think there's a lot more nuance and a lot more expansion to a lot more types of beings out there. So if you feel drawn to working with infernals, by all means, go for it. Just make sure you are being really conscientious of your own energy and not growing up negative attachments, that kind of thing. What's your favorite way of thanking a guide for helping? Okay, this is super fun. So first of all, your guides don't need offerings. It's not like a deity relationship in that way. You don't need to offer them certain things in order to get their help, etc. They are your guides. They already are getting whatever you said you would give them in order for them to help you. That's a higher self thing. But if you want to thank them, which I want to thank mine all the time, I totally understand. I will dedicate certain things to them. So I will occasionally have like jewelry that I wear when I'm like, oh, I really like, thank you so much for your help today, or I really need your help today. I'm going to wear this thing that like represents you to me. Or one of my favorite things is I'll like pour them an extra cup of coffee or pour them an extra cup of tea. So when I sit there in the morning and I drink my coffee or tea, then there's one out there for them. And then I'll just kind of pour it to the earth afterwards, because me and my guides have like that kind of vibe where I'm like, come sit and have coffee with me. Let's hang out. Thank you. Honestly, just saying thank you a lot of the time goes a long way. You can also ask your guides specifically to be like, hey, like, what would you like from me? What would you like me to thank you with? Let me know, and I'll do that. And see what comes up over the next day or two. See what stands out, and try thanking them that way. Yeah. How would you protect yourself before working with some new beings? So spiritual hygiene, clear, ground, shield, basically. Those are the big ones. Making sure your energy you're feeling strong and comfortable in your own energetic space, or even asking your guides like, hey, come support me with this. I'm working with a new energetic being. Please, kind of be sentry here and help me stay safe. But remembering that you are stronger spiritually than most of the stuff you're going to connect with, because we're here having a physical existence and they're just interacting with a physical existence. So we do have a lot of power at our disposal. So I always remind myself of that before working with any types of new beings, whether that's something that's haunting and spooky and scary and messing with people, or it's someone who's really, really sweet, or it's a deity, or you name it. I always remind myself like, okay, I have my strength and my power, clear my energy, ground my energy, shield my energy. And I do have some videos on YouTube about that if you want to check that out. But yeah, great question. You talk about connecting with dragons. Yeah. So the easiest way for me to explain dragons, or like how to connect with dragons, if you think of the Earth as a Venn diagram. So here's our planet, right? Then there's other realms that intersect with our stuff. So here's Earth as a consciousness, and there's like a realm over here that's intersecting that, and a realm over here, right? We have intersecting spaces. Most easily, we can talk about this with like the Fae. People have an understanding of like there's a fairy realm. It's next door to ours. There's places where our realm and their realm overlap all over the planet, because that's like those spaces in between, like the part of the circles, where it's easier to connect with them, or where there's more sightings of them, etc. But basically, we kind of intersect with them. It's an intersecting realm, and at certain parts of the time, there's been a lot of intersection, and certain parts of time, there's been less throughout history. Dragons are the same, so they're in their own realm. own sort of beings. And there's more beings outside of just what we think of as dragons in that space. I'm not trying to say that they're the only consciousness there, because they're not. But they're in their own kind of intersecting realm to Earth. That's why some places have, all over the planet, at the very same time period, there's a lot of intersecting dragon lore, because that was the time of those places where the intersecting realms popped over, those middle of the circle situations. To talk to them or to connect with them, I'm not going to give a ton of advice on that. It's kind of the same way you would channel stuff. And that's kind of more in-depth space, but to talk kind of about dragons in general, they're really interesting. They're really old. They live a very, very long time. They're super wise, and they have very, very dry senses of humor for the most part, in most of my experiences. They're also really weird about names. If you talk to a dragon, you ask what their name is, you're probably not going to get anything back. Dragons take a very long time to choose names if they're like even a guide of yours. Like I have a dragon guide, and he took a long time, like 3 years, 2 years to pick a name. And one day he was like, "This is my name." And I was like, "Okay, you just chose that out of thin air, did ya?" I think partly it's because we can't make our human mouths do dragon stuff. But there's a lot of different races and types of beings there, and they're just kind of an intersecting realm. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If you want to know a little bit more about how the universe works, I did do a whole YouTube video on it, because it is a kind of in-depth thing, and it is just kind of a beginner level how the universe works YouTube, but you can go check that out too. Random, how would you cleanse a thrifted pair of shoes? Okay, this is the great question. I love thrifting. One of my forgotten storytellers actually went thrifting with me a couple weeks ago. It was super fun. So in thrift stores, a couple different things. One, don't just go about touching everything. That is huge. Do not just go about touching everything. There's a lot of energy clinging to objects. Objects hold a lot of energy, and you don't want to go and just like poke everything you see. Now, if you're drawn to something, you're like, okay, I want to try this on or whatever, that's fine. But just be really cautious. If something feels weird and you're like, maybe I shouldn't touch it, just don't do that. Make sure you clear your energy afterwards as well. And then when you purchase items like shoes or whatever, just give them a clearing. The same way you would clear your own energy, wash them in golden light, set them out in the sun for a little while. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do to kind of cleanse the energy. Sing at them or make noise at them, anything in that kind of capacity. It will really, really release the energy from there. Great question. Yeah, someone said they didn't believe in dragons. That's fine. You don't have to believe in them. Like, it's belief is not a required thing, and that's totally fine. And you're not really going to see them sitting here in your living room necessarily. I mean, you might. It's happened to me, but it's not. It doesn't have to be that way for you, and maybe it's not part of your journey. And I totally, fully respect that. Absolutely. Are guides dead humans? So sometimes they are. Honestly, not as often as you'd think. So how can I describe this? Basically, when people pass, there's occasionally you already have an agreement with them when they pass that they're going to come and be your guide. Sometimes it's people you have been in within past lives that are your guides, which would, I guess, still count as passed on humans, but it was a long, long time ago. But guides can be anything and everything you could think of spiritually and know of spiritually. I mean, there's so many different types of beings that exist in the universe, and that's the amount of beings that guides can be. Usually you do have some sort of pre-standing relationship with them though, on some level, on some life, or you just know really well of them or something like that, because that's how you know to ask them to be your guide. So there's a lot of different elements there. I feel like I met a new guide in a dream. I haven't seen her again. She felt so real. Oh, that's awesome. I bet you did. I bet you did. If she felt so real and she came through in the dream, I would ask her either to show up in the dream again. She might do that, or just be like, hey, I acknowledge you're real. I acknowledge that you're a guide of mine. Like, please show up for me in the next couple of days. Please give me some validation of this so we can start working together more deeply. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're the magical, omnipotent ones. Like, make them do the work. You're the one dealing with having to, like, pay bills. Like, make them put some work into this. Yeah. Having a hard time grounding myself. I feel people and life keep distracting me. Any advice? Okay. Grounding your energy does two things. It connects you to the earth, and it connects the earth to you. That second piece is a piece that people miss often, because they're like, I just have to force my energy down. I have to just be more present. I have to be more in my body. Well, the other part is you're also pulling up energy from earth to help you kind of be a battery, to help you keep going. So when I do a lot of channeling for people, sometimes people ask like, oh, how do you not get tired? I I don't get tired because I pull energy up from the earth and I use that to fuel a lot of this channeling stuff. So whenever you're having trouble grounding, reverse the order. Pull the energy up from the earth first and then ground your energy down. I did this because this is a very easy way of grounding, just placing your hand on top of your head. It like creates a circuit, pushes some energy down to the earth. That is an easy way to really get grounded. It can be super quick. If you're not vibing with the energy of like reaching your roots down into the earth to grab on, and like that feels distracting or hard to do, or you just feel flighty again in a second, or maybe it feels kind of like violating of the earth, which I know we're all of the earth, but that does bother people. It's hard for people sometimes. Try to pull energy up and plug your feet into the earth in that way, or just go stand barefooted for a second, or go put your hand on the ground. Just taking a moment will help that energy ground down. Also, if you have any blocks around feeling secure or safe, those might be things that are harder for you to inhabit in your body because you have blocks around that. So doing any work healing with that and then doing a grounding can also really help as well. Yeah. Must I talk out loud or can they hear my thoughts? They hear thought with intention. So you don't have to talk out loud, but it's thought with intention. They're not just sitting there monitoring all your thoughts. Like, that would be creepy. But if you're thinking with intention, they get that. The YouTube's on my profile. If you click the little like Instagram button, it also links it to YouTube. It's just like Curve Words. You can also just search Emily Dexter on there and I will pop up. Yeah, you're so welcome. Great question. Do I have any recommendations for the full moon? So this is actually a full moon eclipse. I did do a video about this a little earlier today. I don't recommend doing any significant releasing or ritual work or charging crystals or anything like that just for this full moon. Normally, go for it. This one, not so much. Do it before, do it after, not so much on Saturday. It's more of a day for witnessing what it is to be human. Go stand underneath the eclipse, go embrace that energy around us. We're not going to be able to see it, but it'll be in the middle of the day, in various times in the middle of the day, depending upon what part you're in. But if you're in a sunny part, unless you're in like Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa, you're not really going to be able to see it. Which, if you are over there, amazing. But it's going to be really quick. It'll only be 15 minutes. It'll be just a little bit into the moon. But I do recommend doing something that is fun for you. Follow the energy a little bit. If you want to do anything, do some journaling, or do a card pull maybe for yourself just to see what advice this particular eclipse or the universe has to give you at this time. But it's not a day where I recommend doing a lot of stuff for this particular full moon. You're in Eastern Europe. Cool. Embrace the full moon. I don't know what time it's going to be over there. I can't like memorize the times for the whole world. But I would check that out. If you're in Eastern Europe, like by all means, like you can probably see it. It's not going to be huge. It's not like a full eclipse where like the whole moon turns red. It's just going to be like a little curve corner where like it'll be a red shadow for a little while. Yeah. Oh, you tell us about our conversation with Satan. So he's the type of angel. This is gonna go. You guys really ask them tough questions. But I don't mind talking about it. He's an angel. There's many different types of angels. The same way I was talking about dragons before, there's many different types of angels. They're a whole race of being that's an intersection with this realm. They look all sorts of different ways. So don't think that there's not a streamline. Everyone looks very, very different. All the different types of angels look different. It looks very different over there. And he is just one. He is just one that has been originally deified, to be totally honest. Like originally, at least according to him, and looking at the energy, was like actually like genuinely worshipped as like part of a pantheon of deities that was made up Christianity, which like, I know, super blasphemy, but I promise I was raised super Catholic and I've done a lot of channeling on this independent, but there was a pantheon of deities that made up Christianity. If you think about it, all the archangels, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all those are individual deities, as is Satan, Lucifer, all of those things. Individual deities, and he was just part of that system, and it wasn't seen initially as a negative or bad thing. It was actually seen as a good thing. So dude's spicy. He's got opinions. Do love me some blasphemy. Me too, my friend. Me too. He's got opinions. He's got thoughts. He's like not, I know I'm speaking so fast. Sorry. I speak really quickly. But he has a lot of thoughts and opinions on everything that's going on. It's been really, I have gotten some information from him about just like, how do you feel that you're like now the bad guy for a lot of people? And he thinks it's hilarious because it is just categorically not how things work. It's just not how it works. So yeah. It's really interesting being a channel. Not bad, not negative. Not negative at all. I have channeled negative entities. Nothing like that from him. Just a deity in all his archetypal deityness. Yeah. exactly. So is very much, oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, so many questions. People have to have a bad guy. Yeah, we like to put things in boxes as people. We just like to box things. We like to be like, this fits in this. We like to ignore nuance because it's harder for us to understand and cope with, especially when we have all of the other things going on in our life. We're like, I don't know about the nuance of this particular thing. It's easier just like, that's why demons got demonized, is because they're not super comfortable looking. And when they did walk on planet, of course, they needed a bad guy as well. Be like, oh, demons are evil. They're not. Some are not great. Some are great. Just like every other race of being, there's many, many different things going on at the same time. But nuance is really hard for us because we like to put things in comfortable little boxes that make us feel more secure. I believe that a big reason we chose to incarnate on this planet during this time is to, not just during this time, but just in this general, like being in a physical form, is to understand what it is to be able to grow and move through discomfort. Because everyone experiences it on some level. It is what it is to be human, is to be uncomfortable, and what we do with that, I think, is really important and valuable. Girls see God. Talk to them all the time. Thanks. They are creator energy, higher self energy. It is really, really powerful and really interesting. I do not accept any individual person's doctrine of what God should or should not be or what rules God has handed down, because I think it's an individual relationship we're all developing. I do appreciate you caring like that, though. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Aren't they cool? Aren't they fun? Yeah, they look like space. It makes me really happy. Could someone reincarnate into a different universe? Yeah, totally. You absolutely can. There's lots more complexity than just this one universe cake. There's many universe cakes, and we can definitely incarnate into different ones as well. That's when, like, if you ever have been on like Shift Talk or learned about shifting at all, even a little bit of astral projection stuff, you can absolutely shift between kind of universe cakes, between like layers within this level of the cake, and experience different universe stuff that way. So, yeah. Great question. Oh. Oh, go to sleep. Good night. Thank you for joining. Could you ask Apollo if Achilles and Patroclus were actually lovers, or they were really close? Oh, they were for sure lovers, like 100,000,000%. They were very, very much lovers for sure. That is, I've channeled on it before. I asked when I read the Song of Achilles, I was like, how close to the truth is this? And they're like, oh, it's pretty close. So there we go. Do we reincarnate with our children over each life? So not every life specifically. It's not like you're like, you and I are mother and child, and we will be mother and child for the next 10 lifetimes. It's not usually how it works. If you have a really strong soul connection with certain beings, that's the part of karma that I do subscribe to, which is quite literally like, hey, if you don't close something in a past life, you might need to close it this time. And that goes with like relationships too. Or you might just really be close with someone. You might have a really strong soul family and you're like, I really want to reincarnate with you again. It's not every single time, and it's not every time in the same role. However, oftentimes, oh, my sound cut out. Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. I think you can hear me now. Sorry. But oftentimes when you incarnate with like a soul family stuff, your roles switch up, but you can still still be a catalyst or still be a comfort person or whatever, even though it has different, your roles in life are in different spaces. So you can reincarnate with your children multiple times. Doesn't mean you always will. Doesn't mean the roles are always the same. They can be, but yeah. Mostly there's no rules, guys. There's no rules to any spiritual stuff. Like, it's so much more vast than we give ourselves credit for. That's why I try to simplify everything as much as possible, because if I simplify it, then it's a lot easier for all of us to grasp, and then we can go deeper in our own way. Yeah. Have I ever done Akashic Records? So, I've never been formally trained in the Akashic Records. So let me just start there. I've never worked with someone who's like a master of the Akashic Records or anything like that. However, I have always been able to tap in and see what I call your Hall of Records, because that is something I've always been able to see whenever I pull a block for someone that maybe is represented in a certain way or needs to be part of their story. I've had guides put it in that person's Hall of Records, which is, in my opinion, an extension of the Akashic Records. But again, I've never worked with someone who's an Akashic Records master. So when I do work in your Hall of Records, which I know is extended and connected to the collective's Hall of Records, it always looks different for every person. I've never had a Hall of Records look the same with any two people, ever. They always look different and unique. Like once it was like just a, it was just a room filled with umbrellas for somebody, just tons of umbrellas. And every time I like touched an umbrella or held an umbrella, it was like a record. There was tons of them. They were like laying on the ground and there was like little buckets. What a cute little bat. Tons of records with umbrellas, just all over the place. So tons of stuff. Like there's a million different, I've seen bubbles. I've seen a cave full of crystals. I have old libraries. One that was just like a bunch of torii gates, like the Japanese torii gates. They weren't all quite, they weren't exactly like Shinto torii gates, but like that's the closest thing I can describe them as. And you walked through and got like a memory experience thing. And they spanned all sorts of lives and planes and stuff. So yeah, I can look at Hall of Records, but yeah. Never actually watched Charmed. Yeah. Someone asked, you can, anything you want to do with me if you want to book a reading. I have a group reading tomorrow night. So if you want to do a reading with me sooner than like May, tomorrow night I do have a group reading. I try to do one of those like once a month. I try to do a group reading, so you can sign up for that. I think there's still some spots there. It is pretty small. It's like less than 20 people. But we tune in and I answer questions for the whole group. It's kind of gallery reading style. We do block pulls as a group, activations, that kind of thing. Really cool. So if you want to do a reading with me that way, by all means, go for it. You can also do individual readings all through the link in my bio, or my website, emilydexterpsychic.com. Or just, you can Google Emily Dexter Psychic and it'll pop up. Great questions. You can reincarnate as any gender. There are more than male and female, and you can reincarnate as any gender. Like there's no specifics. You're not always a female presenting person. You're not always a male. You're not always a woman. You're not always a man. Like it changes via life. Oh, it's 4:44. It is. Cheers to synchronistic numbers. Yeah, you're welcome. You're so welcome. What are my thoughts on twin flames? I think the modern understanding that is projected in the spiritual community or the New Age community about what twin flames are is bullshit. That's my thought on it. A lot of the communication around twin flames is literally communication about how to accept an unhealthy attachment to another person or an unhealthy relationship and justify that. And I think that has been twisted from what like an actual definition of twin flames would be to be used in, again, an unhealthy sort of negative sort of way that kind of harms people. Because I think a lot of what twin flames are said is like, oh, you come together and you explode and you pull apart and you come together and you do that until you guys figure it out. That is abuse. That's not cool. That is not healthy for anybody in any part of that situation to feel like you have to hang on to this thing that is inherently explosive and pull and explosive and pull. I do think that twin flames can be a thing. I don't think it's the other half of your soul though. I do think that and usually this person isn't incarnated with you. This is not like a person on this level necessarily. But it is another soul that fills in all the gaps of yours and you fill in all the gaps of theirs, kind of like a deeper than a soulmate thing. They don't always incarnate with you though. It's not like someone you should be seeking out or trying to find. And sometimes it's like your grandpa. Like, I mean, it's not necessarily like a romantic thing as much as we'd always like to romanticize it. So I do think there's twin flames in that sense. I just think that the energy of that has been totally taken and switched into something very unhealthy that it is not. Again, we really like romances. We really like to romanticize things. And unfortunately, like, this is one of those things where I'm like, we should not be romanticizing something that causes us this much pain, and pushes us into this much the chaos. So, yeah. People should be like cereal and milk, good together, but also on their own. That is a wonderful way of putting it. I love that. Sorry. It's hard to read the comments. They keep going by really fast. And I know there's like always a delay on them as well. What book would you recommend for a medium? Okay, so when I recommend books, I don't recommend the types of books that most people would expect me to recommend. I'm not going to sit here and recommend a lot of books that are like spiritually guided, like self-help style stuff. I think there is a lot of good things out there written by a lot of fantastic people. In my opinion, stories hold a lot more energy when it comes to helping us figure out our spiritual abilities and our psychic abilities than like even step-by-step books do. Not to say that they're not super helpful. I'm writing one myself. I mean, like, they are very helpful. But I recommend, if you want to work on mediumship, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune really talks a lot about kind of what happens after we die and how people connect with people. And it's a really cool book to understand the process. It's a story. It's a novel. But that's a really, really good one if you're going to work on developing mediumship stuff. That one is fantastic. If you're talking about talking to people who have passed, that like as opposed to like ghost story style stuff, if you're talking about like talking to people who have passed on, any book that talks about people connecting with their ancestors, Legendborn is a really, really good one for that. That series is incredible. It's also really awesome for deconstructing the colonization mindset and understanding different perspectives through a spiritual fantasy sort of situation. Fantastic. I recommend that. If you're looking to more talk with like ghosts and things of that capacity, Legendborn, yeah, okay. Under the Whispering Door and Legendborn are the ones I've talked about. Ghosts and that sort of capacity, I do actually have a whole list of book recommendations on my Patreon. You can check those out. I do talk about books every month on my podcast. But ghosts, there's, I mean, a ton of books. Any books that really talk about and deal with ghosts or have magic associated with like ghosts or beings that are around. You can kind of use that and apply that and see if stuff feels authentic or not, and then try the techniques described in that book. Really, really helpful. Emily Wilde is one of my favorites. Emily Wilde, Encyclopedia of Fairies. If you want to learn about the Fae in the way that I have interacted with them very, very similarly, and you want a fantastic book to read, Emily Wilde, Encyclopedia of Fairies. So good. So good. It's fantastic. And the second one comes out in January. It's great as a standalone. It doesn't need a second one, but I am so happy it's getting a second one. And it's pretty. I wish I had a copy, but I keep giving them away. So I would show you if I had a copy, but I just keep... I don't think oh no, I do. I have one up there. So, let's see if I can turn it. Up there, next to Light from Uncommon Stars, there's Emily Wilde's Encyclopedias of Fairies. And then House in the Cerulean Sea, a bunch of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, do it. Enjoy Emily Wilde. It is so awesome. It's so awesome. What do I think about reclaiming the witchcraft tradition? I think it is so freaking important to reclaim the witchcraft tradition. I think it's important to reclaim all of our traditions, including those that are closed to me. Like closed practices, people reclaiming their closed practices and understanding their ancestral practices is incredible. Those of us who are reinventing what it means to be witchcraft, or reinventing what it means to be psychic, or reinventing what it means to be an intuitive person or a spiritualist or mystic, incredible. I think it's all so, so important. And that's part of the reason we're all here right now. I think it's phenomenal. And truly, truly incredible is to reclaim a lot of lost art stuff. Like that's why I do a lot of channeled history things, is because I feel like it's important for us to learn our stories and to tap into people who lived before us. It's so, so, so important. That's also why we're doing the in-person conference. So Crystalline and Rebecca and I, so Magic Sprechen and Rebecca the Ghost Guide and I, are hosting a metaphysical, like spiritual conference for responsible spiritual exploration, all about reclaiming all of these practices and doing things responsibly. Absolutely. So that's in January. So if you want information about that, it is through the link in my bio as well. Yeah. What does it actually mean to be the black sheep of the family? So it can mean a bunch of different things. Usually it's the person that's exposing truth and breaking a lot of ancestral cycles. That's usually who the black sheep of the family is the person who is refusing to conform to ancestral cycles, traumas, you name it, that are causing harm, and therefore they are branching out from that, and that pisses people off because they're comfortable in their suffering and they don't always like being pulled out of it. That doesn't mean that they can't grow out of it, but oftentimes that's what it is. Okay. Someone asked a really good question. With cultural practice, how to even start if you're very mixed with a lot of missing info about family? Okay. Go with where you're led first. It doesn't have to follow just your specific information you've been given, that can be a really lovely starting point, but you can grow. Whereabouts do you think stuff came from for your families? Try looking into those practices. If there's something that speaks to your soul, try looking to those practices. There's an impersonator of me on here right now. That's super funny. Someone who's pretending to be me is actually on the live, Liker of Word 7, who's not me, by the way. That's freaking hilarious. Dude, go away. That's so weird. That's ballsy. If you're impersonating me, go away. Don't impersonate me. That's weird. I don't like it. Okay, thanks. That was really funny. Sorry, I needed to talk about that. Yeah, what the heck? So, first of all, Liker of Words is my only handle, just Liker of Words. Or I have Liker of Books as well, if you want more of my bookish content. I don't actually post a ton on that side of it. It's like kind of my backup page. But those are my only handles. That's all. So anyone using any variation of those handles is not me, including the person that's on here. That's not me. Oh my goodness. I appreciate it. Yeah, people say like invitation's the highest form of flattery. It would be, and I appreciate that, and I do. But honestly, they try to scam people out of money. It makes me so mad, and these apps won't take them down, and that bothers me. So anyway, if you're an impersonator of me, you are not welcome here. Thank you for the confetti. That was perfectly timed. Love it. Ugh, yeah, I know. And it's not just me. It's all big spiritual creators right now. I mean, creators in general, but really big spiritual creators. Like, I talk to my friends that are also, like, big creators or, you know, spiritual creators, even, like, not super big ones. And they're like, God, it's all the time. I'm like, I know. What really should happen is... Oh, look at my cute little ghosty. I love him. What really should happen is the clock app should give me the little checky mark. That would be great. I'm ruining your hopes and dreams of being a fraud. Thanks. Oh, I've not read Matt Aron's book, but that sounds really cool. I like the energy around that. Oh, if you've never seen him do it with anyone else, you're really lucky. I get them for a lot of people, and it's dumb. I have my altar mirror facing my bed. Any thoughts? Sounds lovely. I don't actually think the mirrors are a negative thing. In fact, my house is like covered in mirrors. When you walk in, immediately there's a mirror, and it always spooks everybody, and I get a kick out of it. It makes me really happy. But I think mirrors are really powerful, positive portals. It's awesome. What I will say is don't ever like open up a portal in anything and just leave it open while you go to sleep. That would be weird and very scary, so don't do that. But if you're doing any sort of work and there's a mirror there and you're reflecting there and it's like a loving thing, then don't stress about it. It can face your bed. What's going on? We're just talking magical stuff. Also, if you guys missed any of this live and you do want to catch it later, I will post it to my YouTube. I think I'm about a week behind, I think. So it will be on my YouTube in hopefully the next couple days. But yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Have you ever connected or learned about ancient Egypt? I've connected with ancient Egypt quite a bit. I'm actually going to Egypt with a group of you guys in March, which I'm really excited about, you know, as long as the world doesn't escalate more or anything like that. But I think it's truly going to be fine. I keep looking at the energy of it. But I'm going to go channel there and see what I can bring back to share with everybody and do a lot of channeling work there. So I've done that quite a bit. I've also channeled from afar for there and also gone to museums and channeled connections to objects, etc. From that space. So yeah. Also, if you want to join a trip with me, we have one going to Italy in May, and we also have one going to Japan next August, and there are some spots available on those still. So if you want to come travel with me and channel in magical places all over the world, let's do it. Plus, they have like really, really, really good payment plans, and it's really cool. But yeah, my YouTube handle is Liker of Words, and all the information about the trips is in my bio. The link in my bio, you know. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you can feel my energy through the phone. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. Oh, cool. I'm glad. That's so neat. Spirits can move stuff. Yeah, spirits can move stuff. Spirits can't harm people the way we think or like ghost shows have portrayed it. Not necessarily. I'm not saying they can't. They definitely can energetically influence and harm people, but not like horror movies or ghost shows kind of portray them as. But they can have influence over the physical, especially if there's anything to do with electronics or technology. But not necessarily in a like, can scratch you in whatever sort of way. It's not like that. Yeah. What are good ways to explain this stuff to kids? Okay, great question. So I have 3 kids. They're 11, 12, and 13. And I obviously have been psychic their whole life. So we have talked a lot about this. It depends on the age of the kids, of course, but it's always easy to start talking in ways that make sense. They see movies with magic in them. They've watched Disney most likely. Start talking and be like, oh yeah, there is memory in water, just like Olaf says. Do you think, if there's magic in water and there's memory in this? Or, oh, you're feeling kind of scared tonight? Like, okay, why don't we ask our guides to come in and protect us and give us some light while we sleep? I mean, little tiny things really, really help. And the older they get, the more deep those conversations can get. When my kids were little, we would use crystals as calm down rocks. That was really good because it was really just an energy regulation, clearing your energy grounding technique. But you'd hold the crystal, and when you're holding the crystal, you have to like press it to your chest and let yourself breathe with it and calm that energy down. They've been doing meditation since they were super little because kids actually really like meditation. It's just a visualization, imagination exercise with them. All sorts of different things. It's honestly just making it seem normal. Just talking to them like it's normal, because it is. Emphasizing that. Not saying I'm the best parent in the world. I'm not stressed all the time, and they're all stinky middle schoolers right now, and it's a mission. But that's an easy way to talk to them about it. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, yay! I'm so glad your new moon manifestation finally came into place. Congrats! I'm so stoked for you. What do I think about Halloween costumes? I think they're fun. I have an interesting relationship with Halloween. With Halloween, since it's coming up, let's talk about it. With Halloween, we call forward a lot more spiritual energy just because people think it's spooky and fun. So we're kind of inviting things in, like just as a collective, not individually into your house or anything like that. Don't be scared of it. Me as a child was terrified of it because I was already psychic and I'm a scaredy cat before I could figure out the spiritual stuff. So I had a hard time with Halloween, never went trick-or-treating. Had issues. The one time I tried to go trick-or-treating, my mom's like, let's go to the most lit up neighborhood. It'll be fine, girls. Like me and my sister. And she's like, don't worry. Like, dress in your Dorothy costume. Like, we got this. Walked up to the first door, no Halloween decorations on it, holding my mom's hand like in a death grip. Like, oh my gosh. I was like 8. And guy opens the door in a giant gorilla suit and goes, "Roar!" And I ran back to the car and did not trick-or-treat ever again until I had my kids. So I have a mixed energy with Halloween. I think dressing up in Halloween costumes is fine. By all means, it's fun and light and lovely. If you are someone who enjoys being scared, that's high vibe for you. Rock on. If that's how you process trauma stuff, rock on. That is incredible. I'm not that way. I don't really like dressing up in Halloween costumes. I'll cosplay all day long. Like whenever we go to a con or anything, I'll totally cosplay. But for some reason, Halloween is always just like weird for me in that way. So I struggle with it. But yeah, if it brings you happiness, do it. Do I channel more between these 2 eclipses? Should we channel during them? I don't really channel more during the 2 eclipses, but I mean, the energy is really intense. Honestly, on the solar eclipse, I almost napped like all day. Like I just like laid and did nothing because I was so drained. On the lunar eclipse, I can already feel I'm going to have a lot more energy. It's really just on you. I don't recommend doing any like super intense block pulling, or like releasing exercises or anything on Saturday during the moon. Or manifesting anything during the moon. Just on the literal day. That's it. Not me. I'm too scared to start the journey to open up and learn about my own abilities. Well, remember, you're more magical than anything coming at you. You have guides supporting you. You're here in the physical. You are divinely supported, and you have way more stuff to throw back at them. So little you who's afraid... little you who was scared of some stuff to opening up, know now that it doesn't have to be done in a spooky or scary way. It can just be done in an authentic, lovely way. I'm so excited you signed up for the Japan retreat too, Deanna. I got so stoked when I saw your name came through. I'm so happy. Why do you advise not doing big stuff during the moon? Okay, so this is like, I've explained this on a couple different lives and stuff now, but I'll touch on it just really quickly. I also have a couple full podcast episodes on this, so if you want to go listen for more in depth, where Krista talks about like the astrological perspective too. I'm just talking on an energetic sense. Solar eclipses and lunar eclipses. Normal moons and suns, by all means, rock on. Like new moons, full moons, whatever. Love that. I do tons of work on that. But New moons, or solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, shake up the energy from the universe. So the universe is shaking up the energy for us now. Solar eclipses open new energy, lunar eclipses close that energy. But it's done via like universe tornado. It's like the universe moving the pieces. So if you're sitting there like, hey, universe, I want this specific cow out of the tornado, it's a lot harder for you to control the energy coming at you. Maybe you get a different cow thrown at you. Maybe that cow hits you in the face and knocks you over and wasn't exactly what you were wanting. It's better to be like, okay, universe, I trust that you're sending me the right things at this right time. And that will basically... that's how it's going to happen through. So the same thing with pulling blocks, being like, I'm trying to release all these things or shed all these things. The universe is going to come in with tornado and be like, we're going to shed what you need to shed. So it's an exercise in trust, to be totally honest, because it's a time when the universe is doing stuff for you. So closing things down for the lunar eclipse on Saturday. Oh, hi. I love you all too. Thank you so much. Yeah, cownado. I mean, it's the easiest thing I could say. It's just like, I mean, I guess I could use a sharknado, but it feels more like cows because it's not like anything that's coming to attack you. It's just like, moo! Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is wood behind me. So our new house was built in the 70s, and this whole room, it's actually a bigger room. I'd turn the whole phone around, but my tripod would totally fall over. It's my office, plus there's like a wood bar over there and like a wood burning stove, and it's all original 70s stuff. Like we still have the shag carpet and everything, which I love because it's all retro and fun. So yeah, it's actually like wood paneling on the actual wall. It's really cool. Hello, everybody. Oh, this is so nice. I appreciate all of you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll hang out for a little while longer. I've been live for a little while now, but I'll hang out for a little while longer and chat some more because this is super fun. How do you open up psychic abilities? It comes down to 3 steps that is going to sound massively oversimplifying this. First of all, you decide you want to, and you figure out how you perceive energetic information. So do you see it, sense it, hear it, feel it, know it, taste it, smell it? Those are your clear senses. I do have a free exercise in my bio, like in the link in my bio, if you want to click on that to help you figure that piece out. Then you remove and release blocks. Anything that's blocking your life, anything that's jamming you up, limiting beliefs, you name it. And then you practice with the skills you actually want to develop. That is my massive oversimplification. I do have courses and stuff to help with that, but that is how you do it. Yeah. Great question. You guys are so sweet. I keep trying to catch the comments as they go by, and then they go by really quick. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll wait for the next one. Okay. Yeah, my podcast is called The Alchemist Inkwell. We have a huge backlog. We've been doing it for like 2 years, so check them out. We release a new episode every week, and it's me and Krista Lynn. So Krista talks about like folk magic and astrology, and then talk about like energy and psychic stuff, and then we also talk about books quite a bit. We talk a lot about fiction books and non-fiction books, but usually fiction books. It's super fun. I'm an energetic mess this week. Yeah, that's okay. We're all that way. I loved your spooky episode. Oh, thank you. Yeah, honestly, this eclipse season, right now we're in this like weird thing between eclipses. So lots of different energies and emotions coming up. That is okay. Witness them to the best of your ability and go from there. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of energy to process through. About a week from now, we're going to feel a lot better on a personal energy level. Yeah, I'm happy to have these lives. I've been doing these every Thursday. I'm going to keep doing them every Thursday and keep rolling with it because it's super duper fun. What was my favorite place in Ireland I went to? Okay, this is awesome. My favorite place. So as far as the city, I loved Galway. The energy of Galway was amazing. The ghosts and spirits and energy I met there were also amazing, as well as the normal, like, alive people. They were also fantastic. But as far as the favorite place I went, it was actually off this little tiny road. And basically we were on a tour of the Ring of Kerry. And there was this little tiny road that went down to this beach, and our guide was amazing. Like all of our Trova trips, all the trips where you guys can travel with us, the guides are incredible. Like they're so wonderful that like support us the whole time, and they really cater it to our like desires as a spiritual experience. But he was like, I thought you guys might want to go see, he called it an Ogham stone. He's like, I want to go see an Ogham stone. I'm sitting there like, what is that? And he's like, it's kind of like these stones that the ancient druids kind of put up, and they're kind of all around Ireland. Like, and they're mostly like, look, there's some over there. And there's just some like in some farmer's field or whatever. And he's like, we're going to go see one. We're going to go touch it. And I was like, okay, Ogham stone. Weird. How come I haven't heard of that? We get down. It's this little tiny road. The bus stops. We run off of the bus. There's this little tiny like wooden gate. We go through there and we see this stone standing there and it has ancient writing on it. And I was like, oh, it's an Owam stone. So the Owam is the ancient Celtic writing system. It's also used for divination. Laura O'Brien in the Irish Pagan School has a ton of fantastic resources about it. But I was like, oh, it's an Owam stone. Okay, like now I know what we're talking about. And the energy was so cool. It was literally like a vortex point that this stone was marking. And we were looking at it. I honestly am going to do a more in-depth YouTube video about it because it was really incredible. And I did a bonus video for my patrons a couple weeks ago about this as well. Or maybe it was like a month ago now. But about this experience as well. It was so cool. And we got there and I actually figured this out. Nikki, who was on the trip with me, is in here. Go read her book, by the way. But I figured this out later, like literally just the last couple of weeks, Nikki. But all of us were like, wow, this stone really has the energy of water. And there was kind of some water at the base of it. It was right near the water. We had a lot of fairy experiences around it. I ended up, like, the fairies told me to like dip my fingers in the water and like rub it on my head and rub it on my chest, and it opened up like a whole new level of sight for me, which was really cool. The stone itself felt like this water, like energy, whatever. Well, I went and looked up, because there is a catalog of all of the different stones around Ireland. There's a lot of them, but they're all very ancient. Some of them have been really well studied. Some of them have not been. This one hasn't been very well studied. But turns out this stone was actually knocked from its original place and into the bog. So it was in the water. It was literally a water stone that they pulled back out and put back in its original placement. And that's when we got to see it. So that was my favorite place that we went in Ireland. I loved that. So cool. Yeah, Nikki, I'm glad you're in here to like be like, whoa. But yeah, it was so cool. And I got to hug it and we cried and it was great. Has the eclipse hit anyone else super clumsy? I've dropped and broken so many things. I think I haven't been, well, I've been kind of clumsy. Actually, let me rephrase that. That is when we have a lot of energy going around, sometimes it's hard for our physical body to process that energy. And that is what's going on with the eclipse energy going through us right now. So if you're having a hard time like moving around with your physical body and you're knocking stuff over, kicking things, yeah, that's what's going on. So it is the eclipse energy. So you might be feeling better with it. You might not be feeling as good with it. It's totally a spectrum. You keep biting your lip. Oh no! Oh, have an amazing night. Thank you for joining. Yeah. If anything, when in doubt with any spiritual stuff, including this eclipse, like if you're like, I don't know how to honor it, go do something fun. Do something fun that feels aligned. Whether that is just going on a walk, whether that is coloring, whether that's like going on an adventure, whether it's going to a coffee shop, whether it's, I mean, you name it, big, small, just do something that feels aligned and fun. Playing a video game, doesn't matter. But that is the best way to honor these energetic events you don't really know how to honor in the best and highest way. What are my thoughts about doing magic while you're physically ill? You can do it. I do magic when I'm physically ill. In fact, I use magic to help me feel better. I don't think there's an issue with that at all. If anything, it can really help and help you connect on a different level sometimes and understand things in a different perspective because you're physically ill at the time of doing it. So anything that expands perspective is always a good thing in my book. Hello. Do you recommend bringing stones back from places you visit, or is that disrespectful? Ask the stone. First of all, if there is a rule, if there is, someone that is like, a sign that says like, please don't take stones from here or whatever, by all means, please respect that. That has been, the guardians of that space have declared like a no stone takey zone. Don't do it. However, if that's not the case, ask the stone. And I know that sounds weird, but consciousness is everything. Everything is consciousness. If the stone feels good to come home with you, amazing. If it doesn't, please leave it there. We respect the consciousness of everything. So I don't think it's inherently disrespectful. I just think you need to do it with respect. Yeah. Oh, someone said something and I wanted to catch it, but oh, thank you. I'm so glad my content's been helpful to you. Honestly, so wonderful. All animals get wonky with eclipse energy, with full moon energy in general, but especially eclipse energy, because they're more sensitive to it than we are. So domestic animals, sure, but non-domestic animals, sure. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Never take from Hawaii. Tutu Pele doesn't allow it. No, we don't take from Hawaii. I don't know. I have worked with Pele a couple times. Incredible deity. Actually helped me find... I don't know if you guys have seen this story. I honestly should just do a YouTube video about my multiple. I will. In the next week or two, I'll do a YouTube video about my experiences working with Pele in Hawaii. But my husband lost his wedding ring in the ocean, and she brought it back, and it was incredible. I asked her, it was a whole thing, and she like literally brought his wedding back, like carved a spot in the rock for the wedding ring to sit. Levels of like, it was wild. So if you've been on here for a long time, that was like 2-3 years ago now. Yeah, that's an old time story, but I will do it on my YouTube in the next couple of days. It was so awesome. You remember that story? Yeah, it was amazing. And that's not the only thing that she helped me find. She also helped me find, like, it's a long in-depth story time, so I don't want to take the next like 30 minutes telling it, but I will do a YouTube about it. But it was an incredible experience. Incredible experience. Oh, good to see you too. Yeah, it was really neat. Yeah, the wedding ring story. I'm glad so many of you remember it, because I was like, I need to. My cats normally fight, but have been huddling sweetly. No, oh, that's so sweet. My origin story. So my origin story, not like on a soul level, but just like as psychic stuff, just so you guys like how I realized I was psychic, how I come to do this work. My life story, if you will. Well, one facet of my life story, because I'm a complicated, very weird person. Weird in a good way, not weird in a bad one. Basically, when I was a little kid, I thought everybody could do this stuff. I was super intuitive, really psychic, could hear things, feel things from people, spoke to a lot of forest spirits. I live way up in the mountains in the forest. I have my whole life. It's my happy place. Have communicated with the energy of nature a lot, like very much psychic stuff. And it was kind of reinforced by media, to be totally honest, because if you think about it, like children's media is like, yes, fairies are real. Like, you know, I grew up on like Fern Gully and stuff. Like, I'm just like, yeah, of course they are, you know, and like ghosts are real and whatever. So like things like that kind of reinforced it. I thought everyone could just see it. I thought it was just a fact. Then I came like late elementary school and I started realizing like, ew, maybe not. Maybe that's not what everybody can do. And I tried to tell my mom, not really well. And I remember doing it really poorly. And she is an incredible person who's so supportive of me and everything I've ever done ever. But I remember the time she was kind of like, okay, honey, sounds awesome. Like, go play outside. I think I talked to her when she was trying to do her hair or whatever too. And I was like, you know, I'm 7 trying to explain this, or 8, whatever. And so I was like, oh no, my mom doesn't know what this is. I'm just doing this myself. Oh, big scary then. It's big scary. And I was already a wimp, like I expressed earlier with my Halloween story. So I was like, oh, big scary. Oh no. So then I tried to start suppressing these abilities. Basically, once I hit middle school, I was like, I'm going to cut this off. Like, gonna suppress these abilities as much as possible and try to limit them. Which doesn't work. It just makes you more afraid and it suppresses your own intuition. So it doesn't work very well. And it didn't work very well. It just made me freak out to the point where like by the time I was a senior in high school, I had my mom like sleeping in bed with me every night because I was so scared of the things that were in my room. It was just my guides. It was just my guides and like maybe the occasional ghost. Like nothing was trying to harm me, but I was so terrified of it because I could see it and I knew other people couldn't, and I couldn't explain that. So then I ended up in a really bad abusive relationship after that, mostly because my intuition was shut off and I so wanted external validation super badly, that someone would believe me about something. And he didn't. He was just a liar. Anyway, we had 2 kids, ended up escaping that situation. And when you're in that abusive relationship, you can't really be super magical. Fight or flight is super intense, right? So there's not a whole lot of super magical stuff. Doesn't mean my guides ever dipped out. They didn't. One of my guides threw plates at my ex-husband in front of my eyes, and I was like, oh my God. But it was kind of more shut off because I was so afraid all the time. When I got out, I realized I'm done being afraid of things. I want my psychic abilities back. So I was like, come on, bring them on, which of course is not how that works, but I thought it did in my early 20s. Well, like, I guess I was like 20 at that time, being like, come on, bring the abilities back. And that's not how that works. So then I went on a journey to figure out how to unblock them. And I really deeply reject the narrative of like, it's going to be hard, but it'll be worth it. And you can overcome, because I had just been through so many challenging things and it was so hard. And I didn't want anything to be harder than everything was being a single mom of 2 toddlers at 20 years old. So I was like, no, I'm going to find an easy and fun way to do it. And then we get here. So I've been offering readings and stuff, even in high school when I was really afraid of it. I'd still do readings for friends and really got into cards and things like that. So I've been doing readings in a professional capacity for a really, really long time. I'm 31. But yeah, that's kind of how I got to this sort of space, and then helping people open their own abilities because I realized I could open mine, and then helping as well with everyone else. Yeah, so that's how this got here. That is my roundabout soul journey. to get to, in this life, to get to this point of being magic and fun. So, yeah. And yes, Cinnamon did move with us to the new house. Cinnamon is our kitchen fairy. He's a thing. He's an interesting being. I love it. Oh, I'm so appreciative of all of you. You're so incredible. I'm so happy to help you all. Like, it's such a passion of mine. I just want everyone to know how magical they are. I deeply want, like, this spiritual stuff to just be like dinner time conversation for people. Like, it's just so helpful and healing and beautiful. And if we're all magic together, our magic multiplies, and it's awesome. So, we did not ask for Kitchen Fairy. Kitchen Fairy showed up, and now he is a roommate of ours in the kitchen. His name is Cinnamon. He named himself. He dumped a bunch of cinnamon everywhere. So, yeah. Yeah. I have not found the hamster. Hermes, the hamster. Not a live hamster. He's not a live hamster. He's like a weighted, stuffy hamster. His name is Hermes. He's still hiding, and so Hermes won't talk to me. The god Hermes won't talk to me until I find him. Even though I'm pretty sure he's the one who hid it. It's beside the point. Oh, you guys are so sweet. So I was going to name the hamster. So I got this hamster, the stuffy hamster, as for grounding, because stuffed animals are really, really grounding. Stuffed animals and live animals, if you can hold them, are really, really grounding. And so I wanted this one because my old office in my old house was in the attic and freezing. And I was like, I want this stuffy to like heat it up so I can like hold on to it while I channel, and it'll be cozy. It'll be great. So I got a hamster because he was cute. I was like, what should I name it? And Apollo comes in and goes, Hermes, and like dies laughing. And I was like, shit. Now I gotta name it Hermes, and that's gonna piss off Hermes, but I can't not name it Hermes now. Like, every time I look at it, that's what I'm gonna think. And that started this like bickering thing between me and Hermes. So it goes round and round and round. People who've been here for a while probably have been privy to it. But yeah, play fighting with a god quite considerably. At this point, I don't know. I know the hamster moved with us, but I have no idea where he is. And we've been in this house for about a month and a half now. Not a clue. Not a clue where Hermes the hamster has skedaddled off to. And Hermes the god won't talk to me until I find the hamster. So that's where we are. Ta-da! Oh, if you guys missed any of this, I will post it to my YouTube so you can watch it back over. It's totally fine. I will post to my YouTube in the next, hopefully, couple days. I have my past lives on there as well, so I'll keep that kind of updated. Also, for those of you who've been asking, because a couple people just asked, if you want to do a reading with me, I actually have a group reading tomorrow night. So I do try to do one of those about once a month. And it's kind of gallery style. So all the information is in the link in my bio. But you can, of course, pick a one-on-one reading with me as well. They are about 6 months out booked. They book really far out. So go ahead and scroll ahead, but you can book that through the link in my bio too. As well as all the other things I'm doing. If you want to pitch your book and be mentored by me and Krista as you write your fiction book, join the Forgotten Storytellers. We're open for that right now. Also, thank you. My group readings are really fun. I love them. Also, we are hosting an in-person conference in Virginia in January. If you want to come to that, tickets go live on Halloween. We got a bunch of fun stuff we're doing. I have a bunch of Forgotten Storytellers in here. You guys are the best. Yeah. One-on-ones are amazing. How do I decompress, detox? Great question. So when I'm done for the day, I always close out the energy. I'll blow out a candle or I'll cleanse my energy, whatever. Close down my computer, leave the room. When I do for my own personal stuff, I read all the time. So I'm constantly listening to and reading books. That is my big decompression detox because it is development, but it's also magic in its own right, and I let the stories sort of heal me, and that always helps me decompress. Or video games. Right now I've been doing a lot of Disney Dreamlight Valley. It is literally, and they use these terms, it is an inner child healing game on purpose. It's designed for adults, and it's literally you healing your inner child, and it's so fun and lovely. So I've been doing that. Hang out with my kids, go outside a lot. I live in the middle of the forest, so I do a lot of outdoor stuff. Yeah. I love Dreamlight Valley too. I'm such a nerd about it. It's like my inner Libra, like I'm Libra rising, and it comes out so intense. Yeah. Oh, Nikki, thank you. And Meg, thank you too. There's multiple Forgotten Storytellers from multiple different cohorts in here right now, and I appreciate all of you so much. Can't wait to get it for your kids. Yeah, I mean, my kids would love to play it, but it's totally for me. I play it all the time. I love it so much. That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be so fun. I'm so excited to hang out with people in person. I'm a Libra rising. Yeah. I'm a Gemini sun, Libra rising, Scorpio moon. So we've got dark and twisty feely feelings, but everything else is all sweet and happy. It can never make any decision ever because, you know, Gemini Sun, Libra rising. Look at me go. Yeah. What's going on at the in-person conference? Great question. We are having a bunch of different keynotes. So I'll have a keynote, Rebecca will have a keynote, Crystal will have a keynote, plus we have more. We also have workshops going on. There's going to be a vendor fair. We also have some really cool VIP events. So we also, one of those is like a spiritual scavenger hunt all over the city of Richmond. We're going to have a speed reading event for VIPs where it's like speed dating, but speed reading with like different types of readers. We have like a palmistry person and a tarot person and runes and all sorts of different stuff that going on. And it's going to be so fun. It's just going to be so much fun. And yeah, days of it, we're going to do a huge group sound healing for everybody. It's a small conference. It's not like 1,000 people. It's only about 200. I think even a little less than that. But it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. And I'm so excited. It is the last weekend of January in Richmond, Virginia. And you can go to, it's sacredspacesgathering.com or the link in my bio for literally all the information. And tickets go on sale on Halloween. Because we're reclaiming Halloween too. Just making the energy extra exciting. What time on Halloween? Technically, it's the night before. The exact time, which was astrologically elected, is actually on the website. I think it's like, it depends on what time zone you're in, of course. I think it's like 10:30 at night Eastern time is when they're going live. There's a bunch of different layers and types of tickets, and there's a digital join option as well, so it's better if you just go check it out. Go look. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And hopefully we do more of these too. This is just the first one, but we're really passionate about it, which I love. Cool. Well, wonderful people. I do have to skedaddle and go get my daughter from soccer practice here in a little bit. But thank you so much for being here. I am going to keep doing these lives every Thursday. It's sometime between like 4 and 6. It depends on when I get like work done and stuff like that. But I will keep doing these lives every Thursday. So you can plan on joining if you want to. Thursdays sometime between 4 and 6. You're all fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, being present. It's so much fun to get to hang out. And again, if you want readings with me or take any of my classes, whatever, all the information of all the different things I offer, which is a lot, and I know, is all in the link in my bio. Plus I have the group reading tomorrow night. So it'd be amazing. And thank you for being here and supporting me on this platform. Like, you have no idea how much it means to me. Yeah, I adore each and every one of you. Have an amazing evening and a happy lunar eclipse. Mwah! Bye.